1. Check out this absolute gem I stumbled upon on Facebook Marketplace. A 1953 Lincoln Capri, and it's a steal at just $12,000. This classic beauty has been cruising the streets for 98,000 miles, but don't let that scare you off. The seller says this bad boy runs perfect, and I gotta say, I'm impressed. Now let's talk features. This Capri is rocking an automatic transmission, perfect for cruising in style. The sleek black exterior paired with that classy gray interior? Chef's kiss. It's like stepping back in time, but with all the creature comforts you could want. We're talking power seats, power windows, power steering, and power brakes. This Lincoln was ahead of its time, folks. The seller's being straight up with us. They've got a clean title in hand, which is always a good sign. And get this. For a car that's over 70 years old, it's in great shape. I mean, sure, it might have a few quirks here and there. It is a vintage ride after all. But that's part of its charm, right? Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This isn't a brand new car off the lot. But for a piece of automotive history that's still running strong after all these years, that's something special. If you're into classic American luxury and want a head-turner that's got some stories to tell, this 1953 Lincoln Capri could be your dream come true. Just imagine cruising down the boulevard in this beauty. You'd be the envy of every car meet. So, if you've got $12K burning a hole in your pocket and a passion for vintage rides, don't sleep on this one. It's a piece of history that's ready for its next chapter. And hey, it could be with you, too. Check out this sweet ride I spotted on Facebook Marketplace. A 1970 Mercury Cougar XR7, and it's up for grabs at just $7,500. This classic beauty has only 6,500 miles on the clock, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over half a century old. Now, let's get real for a second. The seller's being straight up with us. This Cougar runs, shifts, and drives good, but it probably needs a tune-up. That's not a deal breaker, though. It's just part of the classic car experience, right? Plus, they've done some solid upgrades over the years. We're talking disc brakes up front, put on just 2 years ago, an Edelbrock carb and valve covers, and a new gas tank. They've even thrown in some extra goodies like upper control arms, new springs, a carpet kit, and a headliner. The black exterior paired with that blue interior? Classic muscle car vibes all day long. And get this, it's sitting pretty on 2016 Mustang GT rims, but you'll also get the stock 15 steel wheels if you want to keep it more original. Now, I gotta be honest, it's not perfect. The seller mentions it needs a tune-up, and with any 50-year-old car, you're bound to find a few quirks. But that's part of the charm, isn't it? Plus, with the extra parts included, you've got a great start on any restoration work you might want to do. The best part? The registration is up to date, and it comes with a clean title. No hassles there. The seller's asking $8K and says no lowballs, but it's listed at $7,500, so there might be some wiggle room. If you're looking for a piece of American muscle car history that you can drive and enjoy while you work on it, this Cougar could be your new baby. It's not a showroom queen, but it's a solid start for someone who loves to wrench and cruise. Just imagine the looks you'll get rolling down the street in this bad boy. 3. I've stumbled upon a real gem on Facebook Marketplace. We're talking about a 1984 Ford Mustang SVO, and let me tell you, this ain't your average pony car. First off, this bad boy is priced at $10,000, which might seem steep, but hold your horses. This is a rare breed we're dealing with here. The SVO was Ford's attempt to take on European sports cars, and they didn't make many of these turbocharged beasts. Now I know what you're thinking. 160,000 miles? That's a lot. But hear me out. The seller says this Stang runs and drives beautifully, and they've got the paperwork to back it up. We're talking maintenance records all the way back to the 90s. That's some serious documentation, folks. The exterior is rocking a classic red, paired with a sleek black interior. And get this, it comes with a set of spare rims and a bunch of extra parts. Talk about a package deal. But wait, there's more. This SVO comes with all the original service manuals and SVO certifications. It's only had 3 owners in its lifetime, and it's been dealer maintained. That's like the holy grail of used car history right there. Now, I gotta be real with you. 160K miles isn't low. But for a 40-year-old car that's been this well maintained, that's not too shabby. Plus, the seller swears there are absolutely no leaks. In the world of classic cars, that's like finding a unicorn. Look, if you're into rare Mustangs and want something that'll turn heads at car shows, this could be your ticket. It's not perfect. No almost 40-year-old car is. But it sounds like it's been loved and cared for. The seller's firm on the price and isn't interested in lowballs or trades. But if you've got the cash and want a piece of Ford performance history, this 84 SVO could be the stallion you've been waiting for. Just imagine cruising down the street, that turbo four-cylinder singing its unique tune. Now that's what I call living the dream. 4. I've got a real beauty for you straight from Facebook Marketplace. We're talking about a 1964 Ford Thunderbird, and let me tell you, this isn't just any old classic, this is a labor of love. Priced at $15,000, this stunning piece of American automotive history is rocking a beautiful blue exterior matched with a blue interior. It's got 104,000 miles on the clock, which for a nearly 60-year-old car isn't too shabby at all. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The seller's father has owned this beauty for 30 years. That's some serious dedication. But wait, it gets better. A couple of years back, they dropped a whopping $27,000 on servicing this bad boy. Talk about a gift of love. Under the hood, we've got a 390 cubic inch V8 with a 4-barrel carb. That's some serious muscle, folks. But it's not just about power. They've really gone the extra mile to keep this T-Bird in tip-top shape. We're talking new tires, a fresh battery, new headliner, trunk liner, and brakes. They've even flushed all the fluids and replaced the filters. This isn't just a pretty face, it's got the guts to match. The seller claims it runs great and everything works as it should. Now, I know we've all heard that before, but with the kind of money and care that's been poured into this car, I'm inclined to believe it. Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. $15,000 isn't pocket change. But for a classic T-Bird in very good condition, with a clean title and no significant damage or problems, that's actually pretty reasonable in today's market. Imagine cruising down the boulevard in this slice of 60s Americana, that 390 V8 purring under the hood, turning heads wherever you go. If you're in the market for a classic that's been loved and cared for, and you've got the cash to spare, this 64 Thunderbird could be your ticket to automotive nirvana. Just don't blame me if you find yourself spending your weekends at car shows and cruise nights. 5. I've got a real project for you straight from Facebook Marketplace. A 1977 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442. Now before you get too excited, let's keep it real here. This orange beast with a white interior is up for grabs at $9,500, but hold on to your wallets for a sec. The seller's being straight up with us, and I gotta respect that. This 442's got a 350 engine and an auto trans with 114,000 miles on the clock. But here's the kicker. It runs, but not very well. It's been catching Z's since 2017, so it's gonna need some TLC to get back on the road. Now, don't get me wrong, there's potential here. The seller believes it's all original, which is a big deal for you purists out there. It's had a respray at some point, but hey, that's not uncommon for a car of this vintage. There's a bit of rust bubbling the paint, but nothing too scary thanks to that undercoating it got back in '77. Here's where it gets interesting. The fuel's not making it to the carb, but the seller's throwing in a new fuel pump, plug wires, plugs, cap, and rotor. They've already installed a new power steering pump and pulley. Oh, and did I mention there's a set of 442 wheels that can come with it? That's a nice bonus. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This isn't a turnkey cruiser. It needs work, and probably a good tune-up after its Illinois to Colorado journey. But for the right gearhead, this could be a diamond in the rough. Imagine getting this 442 purring again, cruising down the street with that classic muscle car rumble. At $9,500 OBO, it's not cheap for a non-runner, but it's not outrageous either if it's as original as the seller thinks. If you've got the skills, the time, and a passion for bringing old muscle back to life, this '77 Cutlass 442 could be your next project. Just be prepared to roll up your sleeves and maybe invest a bit more cash to get it roadworthy. But hey, that's half the fun of owning a classic, right? 6. I've just stumbled upon a real gem on Facebook Marketplace. We're talking about a 1976 Ford Gran Torino. But not just any Gran Torino. This is a genuine Starsky and Hutch edition. And get this, it's one of only 1,300 factory-built S&H Torinos. Talk about rare. Now let's break it down. This bad boy is priced at $12,000, which might seem steep, but hear me out. With only 95,000 miles on the clock, this piece of TV history is practically a spring chicken. It's sporting that iconic red exterior with a black interior, just like in the show. And under the hood? Oh baby, we're talking about a born with 460 cubic inch engine. That's some serious muscle. The seller's being straight up with us. This Torino's got a clean title and no significant damage or problems. That's music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. But wait, there's more. This deal comes with a treasure trove of extra parts, including trim pieces, interior bits, and even doors. It's like getting a parts car thrown in for free. Now I gotta be honest, it's not perfect. No 45-year-old car is. But with its automatic transmission and solid condition, this could be your ticket to cruising down the street, pretending you're chasing bad guys in Bay City. Look, I know $12,000 isn't chump change, but for a piece of automotive and television history, that's not too shabby. Plus, with all those extra parts, you've got everything you need to keep this beauty on the road for years to come. So, if you've ever dreamed of sliding across the hood of your very own Starsky and Hutch Gran Torino, this could be your chance. Just imagine the looks you'll get rolling up to car shows in this iconic ride. It's more than just a car. It's a time machine on wheels. But act fast, folks. The seller's looking to trade up for a 1950s wrecker, so this opportunity might not last long. Whether you're a die-hard Ford fan, a classic TV buff, or just someone who appreciates a unique ride, this 76 Gran Torino is sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. Just don't blame me if you find yourself growing a 70s mustache and practicing your "do it" catchphrase. 7. I've got a real treat for you straight from Facebook Marketplace, a 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass that's begging for a new home. And let me tell you, this isn't your average old beater. Priced at $8,500, this gray beauty with a blue interior has only 84,000 miles on the clock. That's practically nothing for a car that's pushing 50. But here's where it gets really interesting. This Cutlass is a one-owner vehicle. You heard that right, folks. One owner since '76. That's like finding a unicorn in the classic car world. Now, let's talk about what's under the hood. We're looking at a Rocket 350 engine paired with a 350 turbo transmission. That's some good old American muscle right there. And get this, it's all stock. No weird mods or questionable upgrades to worry about. The seller's not messing around either. They're saying this bad boy is highway ready, runs and drives. That's music to my ears. And with a clean title in hand, you won't have any paperwork nightmares to deal with. Look, I gotta be honest with you. It's not perfect. No 47-year-old car is. The paint might have a few dings, and the interior might show its age a bit. But for a stock Cutlass from '76 that's ready to hit the road, that's pretty darn impressive. Now $8,500 might seem like a chunk of change, but for a one-owner, all-original Cutlass with low miles, that's not too shabby in today's market. Plus, imagine cruising down the highway in this slice of '70s Americana, that Rocket 350 purring under the hood. You'd be the envy of every car meet. The seller's not messing around, no trades, and they're only looking for serious inquiries. So if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of Oldsmobile history, this could be your chance. Just don't blame me if you find yourself growing sideburns and digging out your old disco records. Remember, this Cutlass isn't just a car. It's a time machine on wheels. Whether you're looking to relive your youth or just appreciate a well-preserved classic, this '76 Olds could be the ride you've been waiting for. Just be prepared for lots of thumbs up and "hey, nice car" comments at every stoplight. 8. We're talking about a 1951 Chevrolet Custom convertible, and let me tell you, this ain't your grandpa's stock Chevy. Priced at $8,900, this bad boy is a mashup of classic style and custom cool. The seller's not pulling any punches here. they're straight up calling it a project, and I gotta respect that honesty. This Chevy's rocking a white exterior with a red interior, but that's just the beginning of its unique charm. Now let's talk about what makes this ride special. We've got 53 Caddy tail lights and a 46 Caddy grille grafted onto this 51 Chevy body. That's some serious custom work right there. But wait, there's more. The seller's thrown in an 85 Cutlass front subframe and rear end, giving this classic some modern underpinnings. We're talking power steering, disc brakes, and a tilt wheel. Creature comforts in a classic package. Under the hood, we've got a 283 V8 with 3 two-barrel carbs. That's a triple threat of power, folks. It's all backed by a 350 turbo transmission, so you know this thing's got some go when it's all put together. Now, I gotta be real with you. This isn't a turnkey cruiser. The seller's upfront about some rust in the floor and trunk, and it needs wiring and interior work. They're calling it driver quality, which in project car speak means it's got potential but needs some love. Look, $800–900 might seem steep for a project, but consider what you're getting. A custom convertible with a mix of classic looks and modern running gear. It's got a clear title, which is always a plus with project cars. This isn't for the faint of heart or the weekend warrior. This 51 Chevy needs someone with vision, skills, and probably a well-stocked garage. But imagine cruising down the strip in this one-of-a-kind creation once it's done. You'd be the talk of every car show. So if you've got the time, skills, and a passion for unique customs, this 51 Chevy convertible could be your next great adventure. Just be prepared to roll up your sleeves, because this beauty's gonna need some serious TLC before it's ready to hit the streets in style. 9. We're talking about a 1978 Chevrolet Nova, and let me tell you, this ain't your grandma's grocery getter. Priced at a cool $4,000, this purple beast with a black interior has 100,000 miles on the clock. But don't let that scare you off, because what's under the hood is where the real magic happens. This Nova's packing a small block Chevy 350 paired with a TH350 transmission, and the seller swears they're both in great shape. But that's not all, folks. This engine's got a mild cam, an Edelbrock intake, and a 650 carburetor sitting on top. And let's not forget about those headers feeding into Flowmaster pipes that exit just in front of the rear tires. The seller says it sounds and runs like a beast, and I believe it. Now I gotta be real with you. This isn't a show car. The paint's fading and there's some minimal rust, but the body's straight. The interior's all there, complete with some seat covers. It's got new brakes, which is always good to hear, but the tires aren't the best. They do hold air, though. Here's the kicker. The seller says this could easily be a daily driver. A muscle car as a daily? Now that's living the dream, folks. Look, $4,000 might seem like a lot for a car that needs some TLC, but consider what you're getting. A solid drivetrain, some performance upgrades, and a clean title. This Nova's got potential written all over it. The seller's not messing around. They're not interested in tire kickers or lowballers. They're confident enough to say you can drive it home, which is a good sign. So, if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of American muscle that you can actually drive and enjoy while you fix it up, this 78 Nova could be your ticket. Just imagine cruising down the street, that 350 rumbling through those Flowmasters. You'd be the coolest cat in town. 10. Let me tell you about this awesome 1982 Pontiac Firebird I just stumbled upon on Facebook Marketplace. It's a total steal at only $2,500. This bad boy has been around the block a few times with 190,000 miles on the clock, but don't let that scare you off. It's got a clean title and no significant damage, which is pretty impressive for a car pushing 40 years old. Now, I've got to be real with you. This Firebird isn't perfect. The seller's honest about it being a bit of a project car, but that's part of the fun, right? The front right brake caliper is locked up, and the transmission needs some adjustment to play nice with the carb. But hey, it's got a turbo 350 tranny that shifts well, and a 350 small block Chevy engine with an Edelbrock intake and carb, plus a cam. That's some serious potential right there. The seller mentions it runs good, which is a huge plus. Sure, it might need some TLC with bushings, bearings, and rubber parts, but that's to be expected with a classic like this. The differential's been replaced recently, so that's one less thing to worry about. Rust-wise, it's mostly surface stuff, which is pretty miraculous for a car that sat for 20 years. The black exterior might need some love, but imagine how slick this Knight Rider project could look when it's all spruced up. Bottom line, this Firebird is a diamond in the rough. It starts, it drives, and it's got that classic 80s muscle car vibe that's hard to find these days. If you're up for a fun project that you can actually drive while you work on it, this could be the one for you. Who knows, with a little elbow grease, you might just have the coolest ride in town. 11. Let me tell you about this sweet 1980 Chevrolet Monte Carlo I spotted on Facebook Marketplace. This isn't your average Monte Carlo. It's a lowrider's dream, and it's up for grabs at $15,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a hefty price tag. But hear me out, because this Monte Carlo is something special. The seller claims it's only been driven 1,000 miles, which is incredible for a car that's over 40 years old. It's rocking a 305 V8 engine paired with a 350 turbo transmission, giving it plenty of power under the hood. But here's where it gets really interesting. This Monte Carlo is set up for some serious hydraulic action. We're talking 2 pumps with 5 batteries, 8-inch cylinders in the front and 14-inch cylinders in the back. That's enough to make this car dance on command. The exterior is sleek black, and the interior has been completely redone in all black as well. It's got a nice wood-grain steering wheel that adds a touch of class to the custom look. The engine bay is chromed out, which is sure to turn heads when you pop the hood at car shows. The seller says they drive it every weekend and it runs and drives well, which is always good to hear. It sounds like this Monte Carlo has been well cared for and is ready to cruise or show. Now, I've got to be honest. With any classic car, especially one that's been modified, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection. Make sure all those hydraulic components are in good shape and that the low mileage claim checks out. If you're into lowriders, or you've always wanted to get into the scene, this Monte Carlo could be your ticket. It's already set up and ready to go, saving you the time and expense of building one from scratch. Plus, the seller is open to trades if you've got something interesting to offer. 12. I've got a real treat for you today. A 1963 Ford Thunderbird that's currently up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $10,500. This isn't just any T-Bird. We're talking about a piece of American automotive history here. Let's dive into what we know about this beauty. The seller, John, is offering a stock 1963 Thunderbird with a 390 cubic inch Ford engine. That's a big, powerful V8 that was a popular choice for these cars back in the day. It's paired with an automatic transmission, which should make for a smooth, comfortable cruising experience. The exterior is finished in black, which is always a classic choice for these elegant machines. Unfortunately, we don't have information about the interior color, but if it's original, it's likely to be just as stylish as the exterior. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This car doesn't have air conditioning. That might be a deal breaker for some, especially if you're in a hot climate, but it's also pretty common for cars of this vintage. On the plus side, the lack of AC suggests this might be a more original, unmolested example. The seller states that the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, which is always good to hear. However, as with any classic car, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection before making a decision. One thing that catches my eye is the must-see comment from the seller. That suggests there might be something special about this Thunderbird that doesn't come across in the brief description. Maybe it's in exceptionally good condition, or perhaps it has some unique features or history. At $10,500, this Thunderbird seems to be priced reasonably for the market, especially if it's in good condition. These third-generation Thunderbirds, often called bullet birds due to their sleek, aerodynamic styling, are becoming increasingly collectible. 13. I've got a real gem to share with you today, a 1965 Ford Falcon that's currently up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $8,500. This isn't your grandpa's Falcon. It's a bona fide hot rod that's been given some serious love and attention. Let's dive into what makes this little blue beauty special. The seller describes it as a nice little hot rod or street car. And boy, they're not kidding. This Falcon has been transformed into a performance machine while keeping that classic 60s style we all love. Under the hood, you'll find a 302 cubic inch V8 engine that's been beefed up with sealed power-forged pistons and a Comp 268 cam. It's breathing through an Edelbrock Performer intake and a Demon carb, with Hedman headers and a Flowmaster exhaust to let it sing. The ignition system has been upgraded with a Petronix setup and a Mallory coil, ensuring reliable starts and smooth running. The drivetrain has been seriously upgraded too. There's a C4 automatic transmission with a shift kit and transcooler, controlled by a B&M shifter. Out back, you'll find an 8-inch rear end with a 3.55 Posey traction differential, perfect for putting the power down. The chassis hasn't been neglected either. This Falcon's got front disc brakes for improved stopping power, and it's been mini-tubbed to fit some wider rubber. Speaking of which, it's rolling on a set of Weld drag lights, which give it that perfect hot rod stance. Now the seller says it's only been driven 300 miles, which likely means 300 miles since the build was completed. That's good news if you're looking for a freshly built hot rod. The exterior is blue, but we don't have info on the interior color. However, given the level of work that's gone into this car, I'd expect the inside to be just as nicely done as the outside. At $8,500, this Falcon seems like a pretty good deal, especially considering all the performance upgrades. You're getting a turnkey hot rod for less than the cost of building one yourself. Plus, Falcons are becoming increasingly popular in the classic car world, so this could be a smart investment. Of course, as with any modified classic car, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection. Make sure all those upgrades were done properly and that everything's in good working order. 14. Let me tell you about this fantastic 1965 Plymouth Valiant that's currently up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $15,000. This classic beauty has only 33,000 miles on the odometer, which is truly impressive for a car that's been around for over half a century. Now, I've got to be honest with you. The seller claims this Valiant is in great shape, and I'm inclined to believe them. They're stating there's no significant damage or problems, and it comes with a clean title. Plus, it's sporting a fresh West Virginia inspection sticker, so you know it's ready to hit the road. Under the hood, you've got that legendary 2-on-25 slant 6 engine paired with an automatic transmission. It might not win any drag races, but it's a reliable power plant that should keep this classic cruising for years to come. The exterior is finished in crisp white, while the interior boasts a cool blue color scheme. For those who appreciate modern conveniences, they've even included a CD stereo system. I'll be straight with you. $15,000 might seem a bit steep to some, but for a well-maintained piece of American automotive history with low miles, it could be worth every penny to the right collector. So, if you're in the market for a classic that'll turn heads and won't leave you stranded, this 65 Valiant might just be your ticket to cool. Remember, always check it out in person before making any decisions. 15. Let's talk about this 1969 Buick Skylark that's currently up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $5,000. This four-door hardtop has seen some miles, clocking in at 89,000. But that's not too bad for a car that's over half a century old. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This Skylark isn't in showroom condition, but it's got a lot of potential. The seller is upfront about its condition, which I appreciate. The exterior paint is very faded with some minor scratches, so it could use some TLC in that department. The interior is a mixed bag. The carpet, headliner, dash, and door panels are in very good shape, but the bottom of the front seat needs repair, and one armrest is taped up. Under the hood, you've got a 350 V8 with a 4-barrel carb, paired with an automatic transmission. The seller says it runs, drives, and stops very well, which is promising. They've also replaced the water pump and brake master cylinder recently. Some other points to consider. It has AC, but the belt is off, so its functionality is uncertain. The gas gauge isn't working, and the tires are only in fair condition. On the plus side, it's got a new windshield, all the lights work, and it's sporting some rally wheels, though with Chevy center caps. For $5,000, you're getting a piece of American automotive history that needs some work, but is still drivable. It's not perfect, but it could be a great project car for the right enthusiast. Remember, always check out a vehicle in person before making any decisions. 16. Let's talk about this 1962 Chrysler Imperial that's currently up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $7,900. This vintage beauty has clocked 75,747 miles over its 6-decade lifespan, which isn't too shabby for a car of this era. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller's description paints a pretty rosy picture, but we should approach it with a bit of caution. They're highlighting the car's luxury features and timeless design, which is fair. The Imperial was indeed Chrysler's top-of-the-line model back in '62. Under the hood, you've got a V8 engine, which was standard for these cars and should provide plenty of power. The seller mentions an automatic transmission, which is correct for this model. They're also touting power windows and air conditioning, which were indeed advanced features for the time, but make sure to check if they're still functioning properly. The exterior is described as having elegant chrome trim, which was a hallmark of the Imperial's design. It's sporting a brown paint job, which matches the brown interior. Speaking of which, the seller mentions plush leather interiors, but it's worth noting that many Imperials of this era actually had cloth or vinyl upholstery, so you might want to verify this detail. At $7,900, this Imperial isn't the cheapest classic out there, but it's not unreasonable if the car is in good condition. However, the seller doesn't provide much information about the car's current mechanical state or any restoration work that might have been done. Given its age, it's likely to need some TLC, even if it's been well maintained. Remember, with any classic car purchase, especially one this old, it's crucial to inspect it thoroughly in person or have a trusted mechanic look it over. You'll want to check for rust, verify the condition of the chrome, and make sure all those luxury features are still working. In summary, this '62 Imperial could be a great find for the right enthusiast, but approach with caution and do your due diligence. It's a piece of automotive history that could be a real head-turner with some love and care. 17. Let's dive into this 1982 Chevrolet Camaro that's popped up on Facebook Marketplace for $6,500. This third-gen beauty has only 30,000 miles on the clock, which is impressively low for a car pushing 40 years old. It's sporting a clean white exterior with a black interior, and it's got an automatic transmission for easy cruising. Now, I've got to be real with you here. The seller's description is a bit of a mixed bag. They're claiming it's a one-owner vehicle with a clean title and no significant damage or problems. That's all great news. However, there are some important details we need to discuss. First off, the seller mentions it needs a starter and a battery. That's not a huge deal for a seasoned gearhead, but it does mean this Camaro isn't ready to drive off the lot. More interestingly, they're saying it's got a 327 small block that's been bored out. This is a bit unusual for an '82 Camaro, as they typically came with different engine options. It sounds like some serious engine work has been done here. The good news is that this built engine only has about 1,000 miles on it, and there's a brand new transmission to boot. That could mean some serious performance potential for the right buyer. At $6,500, you're getting a low-mileage Camaro with some recent major mechanical work, but it does need a few things to get running. It could be a great project for someone who wants a third-gen Camaro with some muscle under the hood. Remember, always inspect a vehicle in person before making any decisions. This Camaro could be a diamond in the rough, but make sure you know what you're getting into. 18. Let's talk about this 1984 Pontiac Parisienne that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $6,000. This boxy beauty is a real throwback to the '80s, and it's got some interesting features that might catch your eye. First off, we're looking at a one-owner vehicle with only 80,000 miles on the clock. That's pretty low mileage for a car pushing 40 years old, which is definitely a plus. It's rocking a V8 engine, which the seller claims runs great, and it's got an automatic transmission for smooth cruising. Now let's talk about condition. The seller's being pretty upfront, which I appreciate. They're rating the paint as a 7 out of 10, describing it as driver quality. It's sporting a two-tone light gray and dark gray color scheme, which was a popular look back in the day. The interior gets a higher rating at 9 out of 10, which suggests it's been well maintained over the years. One thing to note is that the seller mentions having both lower bumper fillers, which come with the car. This is actually a good thing because these parts often deteriorate on cars of this era, so having replacements is a nice bonus. The Parisienne comes with power options and AC, which is great if they're all functioning properly. Remember, electrical components on older cars can sometimes be finicky, so you'll want to check that everything's working as it should. At $6,000, you're getting a piece of 80s automotive history that seems to be in pretty good shape overall. It's not perfect, but it sounds like a solid driver that could be a fun cruiser or a good starting point for a full restoration, if that's your thing. As always, make sure to inspect the car in person and maybe get a mechanic to look it over before making any decisions. This Parisienne could be a cool addition to your collection for the right enthusiast. 19. Let's talk about this 1973 Dodge Charger that's currently turning heads on Craigslist for $10,000. This third-generation Charger is a real piece of American automotive history, and from the seller's description, it sounds like a pretty sweet ride. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller is painting a pretty rosy picture here. They're claiming it's in excellent condition, which is impressive for a car that's nearly 50 years old and has 141,000 miles on the clock. If it's truly as good as they say, that's a testament to some serious care and maintenance over the years. Under the hood, we're looking at a 318 four-barrel V8 engine that's supposedly pushing out 280-plus HP. That's a decent amount of muscle, especially if it's been well maintained or possibly upgraded. It's paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission, which should make for some smooth cruising. The exterior is described as vibrant red with black striping, which is a classic muscle car look that's sure to turn heads. The seller mentions it's been garage kept, which is always good news for preserving these old beauties. Inside, you're looking at black leather seats, which the seller claims offer a luxurious driving experience. Remember, though, that leather in a 50-year-old car might need some attention, even if it's been well cared for. At $10,000, this Charger isn't cheap, but if it's truly in excellent condition as claimed, it could be a fair price for a well-preserved piece of muscle car history. However, and I can't stress this enough, you'll want to inspect this car thoroughly in person. Check for any signs of rust, verify the condition of the engine and transmission, and make sure all those power features are working correctly. Remember, even a well-maintained classic car of this age is likely to need some TLC. But if everything checks out, this '73 Charger could be a fantastic addition to any muscle car collection. 20. Let's talk about this 1965 Ford Mustang Coupe that's up for grabs on Craigslist for $7,000. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This isn't your typical classic Mustang listing. This is a full-on project car, and I mean project with a capital P. Let's not sugarcoat it. This Mustang is in rough shape. The seller is upfront about it being a non-running vehicle with no engine or transmission. It's basically a shell at this point, with the interior completely gutted. There's rust in the trunk, which is entirely rotted out, and a spot under the driver's feet. The bodywork is described as iffy and needing attention. Oh, and there's no front suspension installed. But here's the thing. For the right person, this could be an incredible opportunity. The seller has invested in some serious performance parts, including a Heights-independent front suspension kit, Meyer Racing fiberglass body panels, and a bunch of racing-oriented components like Kirky race seats and a 4-point roll bar. All told, they claim to have over $11,000 in parts included with the car. The car started life as a silver blue 6-cylinder model with a 3-speed manual, but it's clear the previous owner was planning to turn it into a serious race car. The frame has been notched to accommodate larger engines, and the suspension upgrades would make for some serious handling improvements. At $7,000, you're essentially buying a blank canvas with a bunch of high-end parts. This isn't a project for the faint of heart or the inexperienced. You'll need serious skills, or deep pockets to pay someone with those skills, to turn this into a running, driving car. But if you've got the know-how and the desire to build a custom Mustang from the ground up, this could be a great starting point. Just remember, You'll need a trailer to get it home and be prepared for a long-term project. This isn't something you'll be driving anytime soon,